And welcome again to Cottage Talk. I am Russ Goldman. This is my match reaction, my 5 takeaways from Fulham's 3-2 victory against Wolves on Monday Night Football at Craven Cottage. Let's just start off by saying this is a huge, massive victory for Fulham Football Club. It actually makes them even on points with Wolves. And I actually have a lot of respect for Wolves. They are a very good side. So the fact that Fulham found a way to get all 3 points is huge. I'll be talking about that in my 5 takeaways. As always, please do subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. It does help other Fulham supporters find us. Well, before I go through my 5 takeaways, I'm just going to mention this because I know there is going to be a lot of focus and already has been on the controversy, these calls, the referee, the VAR decisions. A lot of talk on that. So if you're a Wolves supporter and listening to this show and expecting a lot of talk on that, I think you should be listening to a Wolves show like I have, and you'll get a lot of that. You're not going to get a lot of that. I'm going to be discussing it, but my focus is on the Fulham victory, and you'll hear that in this episode because no matter how you slice and dice it, no matter how much you complain, nothing is going to change the fact that Fulham won this match and I think deserved to win the match. And I'll go through that in my 5 takeaways. Let's start with number 5. And this is the one that if you're a Wolves supporter listening to this one is really for you. Wolves were very dangerous going against Fulham's back four. I said in my preview show that Fulham had to play mistake-free football with their back four. Well, they didn't do that. And a lot of the credit has to go to Wolves. They were dangerous throughout the match. Fulham had their spells, but whenever Wolves were breaking quickly and gave Fulham all kinds of problems, I was concerned about Tim Ream going against this side, and I think I had a right to be because this is a very dangerous team that could really take advantage of Fulham's weaknesses with their back four. But I do want to give a lot of credit to the players because even though they weren't at their best for all 90 minutes, and a lot of credit has to go to Wolves, they did enough to win this match. Timothy Castagne, I thought, played well. Bassi had his moments. I could talk about Ream, but you know what? Let's not talk about that right now. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And Anthony Robinson. They didn't play mistake-free football. And it was evident, but Wolves had a lot to do with that. Wolves were very good going forward, very dangerous. And that's why that's my number 5. And if you're a Wolves supporter, I think that's probably going to be what you're going to want to listen to because I think the others you're not going to really like. Let's go to number 4. And that's Tom Kearney was man of the match. Now, when I saw the starting 11, I actually spoke to my friend Tony Gold before the match. He went to the match and we were talking about this. And I was not sure this was going to be the right move with Tom Kearney, Harrison Reed, and Pereira as your midfield three. I was a little bit concerned about this, but it actually worked out. It was a brave decision, I think, by Marco to play Tom Kearney. But when I looked at it, the other times that Pauline has been out, Kearney has played. So I should have seen this coming. Tony saw this coming. So I want to give full credit to Tony Gold for seeing this and saying he wanted to see Tom Kearney. And he was man of the match. Now, the lead up to the penalty, he makes a great tackle, wins the ball back, and then obviously gets fouled. And there's a penalty, and Tom Kearney created that. But it was more than that. Tom Kearney really did a nice job and deserves to be man of the match. He was excellent in this match. It's good to see he still has it. He absolutely does. I don't think he's a full-time starter, but it's good to know that you can count on Tom Kearney in a match where you really needed this win. You needed it, and Tom Kearney stepped up. And for my thoughts on this, man of the match. Now, there were some other good performances. I want to mention Willian, obviously, I thought was very good in this match, very dangerous, and obviously scored the 2 penalties, but it was more than that with him. Alex Iwobi, I thought, played very well, too. So there were some very good performances. And I also want to mention Timothy Castagne, who actually saved Fulham more than a few times in this match defensively. But when you look at the entire match, and you look at who was man of the match, it's Tom Kearney. No question about it. Congratulations to Tom Kearney because you deserve to be man of the match. Okay, let's go to number 3. This is an interesting one. No Mitro, no problem when it comes to penalties now. So Fulham are missing Alexander Mitrovic. There's no question about it. They don't have a striker right now that they can count on to put the ball in the back of the net. But the weakness with Mitro was penalties. Well, now we have someone that we can count on. You can count on Willian. Willian scores on 2 penalties, 2 fantastic ones, by the way. And I think Fulham have someone that can take penalties that you can count on. I haven't felt this confident with someone taking penalties since Danny Murphy. I thought Danny Murphy was fantastic at it. Willian might be just as good. So with Fulham struggling to score goals and finally getting a couple of opportunities with penalties, their first 2 of the season, really, no Mitro, no problem because you have Willian. So this is a huge factor for Fulham moving forward, that when they get in this situation, when a penalty does arise and someone has to take it, you don't have to worry about Mitro anymore. You have Willian. That is huge. That's why that's my number 3. Number 2, big one. Fulham have beaten a quality side without Paulinho. Now, in the lead up to this, and I've listened to a lot of shows, a lot of Wolves shows, they were focusing a lot on the loss of Paulinho. And listen, I get it. I thought Paulinho was going to be a loss in this match, but I also thought that Fulham would find a way after a whole season of trying to figure out how to play without him. I think they finally figured it out. And I thought it would be on display in this match, and I was right. And I'm mentioning this because Wolves are a quality side. So Fulham have beaten a quality side without Paulinho, I think is just massive. Now, was it perfect at times? No, because Harrison Reed made a few mistakes. Let's just call it what it is. But you know what? They did control the play. They had more of the possession, and at times it looked like it could really come back to bite them to play without Paulinho. But you know what? They're only going to be a better side winning this match moving forward. This is a huge takeaway because I think that Fulham now have proven it to themselves, the players, the manager, the coaching staff, everyone, that if they're in this situation again, that Paulinho is not there, I hope he's there past January. They can win without him. They can definitely win without him. They proved it on Monday Night Football. Congratulations to Fulham Football Club, Marco Silva, the coaching staff, and all the players. You found a way to beat Wolves without your best player. You deserve credit for that, and that's why that's my number 2. Coming up next is my number 1 takeaway from Fulham's 3-2 victory against Wolves on Monday Night Football. Okay, to end the show, and anyone listening is probably wondering why I have not mentioned VAR, why I have really not mentioned the referee. I mentioned it very briefly at the beginning. Well, it is in my number 1 takeaway, and here it is. My number 1 takeaway is this. People can focus on the referee and the VAR decisions all they want, but it won't change one huge fact. Fulham beat Wolves 3-2. I've seen so many calls go against Fulham this season, so I'm going to focus on Fulham winning the match. That's my number 1 takeaway. I tweeted that out, and I've got a lot of positive responses off that because that's the way I'm looking at it. I'm thinking about all the calls, and I knew the focus would be about VAR. I knew the focus would be about the referee. That's fine. If you want me to comment on it, I'm going to comment on it right now, but I'm still going to go back to the fact that Fulham deserved to win the match, and they actually won it, and you can't change that. Fulham won 3-2. So if you look at all the penalties, all 3 situations, I think that they're all legitimate. That's the way I'm looking at it. We can argue that maybe they're not. You can argue on any one of them, I feel. Now, I've heard from all this talk that the Wolves situation, the Wolves penalty was a Stonewall penalty. Okay, you can feel that way. I have different feelings on that. I have different feelings on Fulham's 2 penalties, which, again, I feel are penalties. But if you're a Wolves supporter, I understand why you feel that way. I absolutely do, because I would be thinking the same way. But here's the thing about all of this, about all the penalties, the decisions by the referee. Before I do that, I want to say one thing, that Fulham are very fortunate that they did get the rub of the green. They did get some calls. Vinicius, in my opinion, should have gotten a red card. Absolutely. I disagree that Tim Ream should have gotten a second yellow. I totally disagree on that. If you're going to go with that argument, if you're a Wolves supporter listening to this, Gomez could have gotten a second yellow too. So if we're going to play that game, I can look at Gomez, okay? So just keep that in mind if we're being honest here. So when I look at this and I look at the match and I look at the overall play for all 90-plus minutes, I think Fulham deserved all 3 points. That's where the focus should be. But no, the focus is going to be on VAR and all of this stuff. And I'll just ask anyone listening who is not a Fulham supporter, have calls gone your way that maybe went against the opposition that maybe you shouldn't have gotten? And someone actually tweeted this to me, because every team has gotten calls that maybe they shouldn't have gotten and benefited from. So there isn't a club that has not had that happen to them, including Wolves. I don't watch all Wolves matches, but I'm sure that there have been calls that have gone your way. I know the calls haven't gone your way lately. Sorry about that, really, because I have a lot of respect for Wolves. But the way I'm looking at it, so many calls have gone against Fulham this season. I've heard all the complaints about Wolves, and I understand your pain because I felt it with Fulham. So in the end, I'm focusing on the fact that Fulham got all 3 points because the calls have gone against them. I feel that they do even out over the course of the season. We can have a separate, complete discussion on VAR. We can have that. We can have a discussion on referees. But you know what? So many calls have gone against Fulham. I don't care. That's my answer to anyone listening. I don't care, because in the end, all that matters, the one fact that is left with this match, Fulham beat Wolves 3-2. Can't change that. Fulham beat Wolves 3-2. I'll say it one more time. Much respect for Wolves. They didn't win the match. They didn't deserve to win the match. Fulham deserved to win the match. We can disagree on that. You can make the argument that maybe you should have gotten a point. Okay. You didn't deserve to win the match. You didn't do enough to win the match. I think Fulham did more than enough to win the match. That's my opinion. And if you disagree with me, that's fine. No worries on that. But I have a lot of respect for Wolves. But in the end, I think Fulham deserved all 3 points. And the focus should be more on that, but it's not. It's going to be on VAR. It's going to be on all that. And if the roles were reversed, I'm sure Fulham supporters would be doing that. I did that against Man City. We were talking a lot about that. So I get that angst. I get that feeling. But I would also give credit to the other side. I think Fulham deserved credit for getting all 3 points. I don't hear a lot of that. I don't hear a lot of talk besides Fulham supporters talking about Tom Kearney. Don't hear a lot about that. I don't want to hear about how great that goal was from Alex Iwobi set up. The way that they did that. Fantastic. Where's the talk on that? No, the talk's on the decisions by VAR and the decisions by the referee. So if you want to go there, that's fine. Doesn't change the fact that Fulham won this match. So as I finish up this show, I understand everyone's thoughts on VAR and referees in general. But if we look at the 90-plus minutes, the one fact remains. Fulham beat Wolves 3-2. And that's how I'm ending my show. As always, please do subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. It does help other Fulham supporters find us. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Cottage Talk. My name is Russ Goldman. Thank you as always for watching and listening to Cottage Talk, part of the talkSPORT Fan Network.